Hey everyone, welcome to day one of Build Your Belonging, and welcome to the series. I'm really happy to be here. It's been a while since I've done a live face-to-face video, so it feels really good. And I'm actually away for a couple of days, so been feeling quite chilled and in a really good headspace, so it's nice to be able to come and deliver this for you. So the plan of action is that every day I'm going to be sharing a mix of kind of knowledge and wisdom with some learning, and then the following day there'll be a practice. So you kind of there's like a carousel process that's going to go on here, and that's really important because I want you to have a chance to essentially percolate on the information. What I don't want to do is overload you with loads and loads of things that, you just kind of think, no, it's too much and I can't do anything with it. So it is really important that we take this slow, deliberate process. And that's why I'm doing this mixture of one day kind of knowledge and wisdom with learning, and then the next day a practice that you get to actually use, and keep for yourself. And I want to really kind of highlight the word practice to you because what I really want you to know is that there is no fixing, eradicating, getting rid of feelings. You are not broken. You don't need fixing. And that is really important that that you kind of, bring that into your mindset. And I want to be really deliberate about my language with that because, I think often we can get stuck in a rut of thinking there is something wrong with us and that we are broken in some way and that we need to fix ourselves, and we put a huge amount of pressure on ourselves. We guilt, we shame ourselves, and that is definitely not the way I operate. And I want to be really deliberate about my language, with my language around that. Essentially what I'm really interested in is raising awareness as a starting point, okay? Raising awareness around what you might be thinking, what you might be feeling, and the behaviors that you may be expressing as a result of the thoughts and emotions that are coming up for you. And what's really important is that we think about how we can adopt a mindset of curiosity that we kind of couple together with that awareness, because it's really highly likely that at some point, if not regularly, you have brought some judgment to the party in terms of how you have felt and how you think about your life and the things that have happened to you. And it's highly likely that at some point you have berated yourself for the way that you feel, and you may have called yourself silly or stupid and really tried to play down the thoughts and the feelings and the behaviors that that result because of the way that you feel. And I want you just to take a moment to kind of reflect on that and think, is that something? It's something that we all do from time to time, but we don't always notice it. So really just give yourself a moment to think, can I think of a recent time when I've really judged my own feelings? When people come to work with me, they will often use sentences like, oh, I know this sounds really silly, or I feel really stupid for thinking this or saying this. And there's that judgment piece there, and it's really common. And again, there's nothing wrong with having the judgment, but what I really want to invite you to do as we move forward is to ask the judgment, think of the judgment as a part of you. And just see if you can ask that judgmental part just to soften and step back a little bit. And in doing so, what we're able to do is to kind of get a bit clearer on the emotion, the feeling, or the behavior that we want to pay a bit more attention to and that we're raising our awareness around. And it's so we can explore our feelings a little bit more clearly without this kind of judgment piece hanging over us. So that's just an invitation to you to notice where there is judgment coming up for you in terms of your feelings or perhaps something that you've done, and just ask that judgment to soften and to step back so we can look clearly at what's in front of us. And the other thing I'm really keen to encourage is this idea of really giving yourself permission to feel your feelings. And what I've noticed in my work is that, first of all, there needs to be awareness that's raised. Like we need to know what it is that we're feeling and what the emotions that that are coming up for us. And when we are aware of them, they're often uncomfortable. We don't want to feel the anger, the sadness, the disappointment, the frustration. So we become aware of it, and then we think, no, I don't want that. I'm going to shut it down. So the next part is, how do I get to give myself permission? And it's difficult because as children, many of us may have been shut down when we expressed big feelings. So if you were ever told to stop crying, and often it came from well-meaning parents, not always, but our parents doing their best to do what they were thinking was soothing and comforting us. Oh, don't cry, it's okay. And actually, as children, what we learn is my big emotions are not okay. Like I'm not safe to feel these big emotions such as anger and frustration. And in adulthood, what that leads to is us not knowing if it's okay to express these emotions. Anger is a big one. There's so much unexpressed anger, and it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. And so, my invitation to you is for you to think about, how can I give myself permission to feel this feeling that I have become aware of? And I think it might be helpful at this point to share with you that the feelings that come up, it does not mean that we have to attach huge meaning to them, or that we have to become those emotions. I am feeling anger does not mean that you are the anger. Or, a thought that we have about somebody or about a situation, it does not mean that we have to become and really immerse ourselves in that. And it doesn't have to mean that it's the truth. The idea is that we are becoming more aware and giving ourselves permission, so we're not suppressing these feelings that are coming up for us, but we're being curious. We're just interested in, okay, I notice that I'm feeling a certain way. I wonder what that might, what that might be about. And we approach it with curiosity rather than judgment. And also, when we approach things with curiosity, we're less likely to become overwhelmed, because we're not kind of diving in headfirst into a feeling like, oh my God, there's anger here, and let me kind of dive into it headfirst. We don't have to do that. We can be curious about it, and we can, just kind of start to take our time, which is really the whole premise of this 21-day series, is that we're looking at things one step at a time. Because if we try and dive in, it's overwhelming, and we feel like we're going to drown in everything that's coming up for us. So my wish for you, my invitation to you for the next 21 days is to really think about how you can be curious. And when you feel a sense of, judgment or overwhelm coming up, just see if you can take a step back from that, metaphorically or physically. If it helps you actually take a step back and see if you can get a sense of what is coming up for you and what is that feeling, and be curious about it. And, you don't have to have all the answers. That's not the purpose here. We're not looking to solve or fix or cure anything. We are looking to kind of break things down, become aware, give ourselves permission to feel. So why have I set this up for 21 days? Really, it's a period of time that can act as a starter for you on this journey, and giving you an opportunity for you to see what is possible in the long term. So the change that you maybe are looking to create, you get a chance to see a glimpse of what that could look like in the long term, is to get you started. Now, there's theories around how long does it take to create a new habit, and I know there have been some theories around, it takes 21 days to create a new habit. I think it actually takes longer than that, and that would be my experience, but it certainly gives us a good glimpse of what a new way of thinking and being could be like. So it's a good starter for us. And I want you to know that you can work through this experience however you choose. You cannot get this wrong. So if you want to kind of be here 21 days working through everything consecutively, that's absolutely fine if that works for you. However, you don't have to do it that way. So, if you're subscribed via the link, then you're going to get these videos into your inbox every day, and you can work through them at your own pace. You might want to take 2 months to do this. There's absolutely no right or wrong. You do it in a way that feels good for you. We need longer. We need to be able to integrate sometimes. So have a think about it. Maybe you work through the first 5 consecutively and you take longer as we go through. Absolutely fine. Okay, so let's get into things a little bit more. Why have I called this series Build Your Belonging? Well, what I've noticed is that so many of us are spending a huge amount of time trying to fit in with everybody else. And we're expending a huge amount of energy trying to fit in. And it is exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. And when we do that, our energy and our attention is focused outwards on everybody else. What do they want me to say? What do they want me to look like? How do they want me to be? Who do I need to be to fit in with this group and this group and this group and this group? And we're moulding ourselves to fit in, often with lots of different groups. Maybe your work colleagues, maybe your friends, maybe your family. And all of these different groups may have, a different set of rules, and you have to change to be able to fit in with them. And it is exhausting. And it's this constant sense of external validation. And in the long term, it doesn't work. Because even if you feel a sense of acceptance from a particular group, it doesn't last very long. And so the flip side to that is to create a sense of belonging. The opposite to fitting in is belonging. And that starts first and foremost with belonging to yourself. So this is not about belonging to different groups necessarily. This is about being confident, grounded in your own skin, that wherever you go, you have that sense of belonging deep inside of you. And in order to create that sense of belonging, you need to know yourself really well. You need to know what your values are. You need to know what drives you, what matters to you, and be able to live a life that is in alignment with those values. And that is the way to build our belonging. So then when we go into new groups and new situations, we don't feel that we need to mold ourselves into a cookie cutter shape that fits in with everybody else. And it's far less exhausting. Yes, it means doing some work in the short and potentially long term, but the long term gain is that wherever we go, we carry the sense of belonging with us. And it's really important, again, just to stress that we're not looking to change everything in one go. That doesn't work. Like we cannot change everything that we want in one go. Our systems will not cope with it. If we try and change all of the things that potentially we may dislike about ourselves, we will go into overwhelm. Our nervous systems will not cope and we will shut down. And what happens if you think about any kind of, New Year's resolution that you've tried to embark on, a few days in, it's too much, can't cope with it, oh, clearly I'm a failure, there's no point in me trying. And that's why we have to break this down into small, manageable chunks. And it's this process of learning, practice, and then integration. And that is key to making the long-term sustainable changes. If we push too hard, essentially we will not feel safe. And if we don't feel safe, nothing will ever change, because we will just shut down and we won't be able to move forward. So I want you to think about this series as me very gently walking you home towards yourself and creating this sense of belonging, so that you no longer feel that you have to try and fit in with everybody else, and that your energy stays with you, so it's not scattered externally to all the different groups of people that you are trying to fit in with. And when we're trying to fit in, we become acutely aware of the reactions that people give us. What was that facial expression? Does that mean they like us, or they like us or dislike us? Making sure that person's happy. Wondering if you've said something to upset them. How many times have you walked away from a conversation and thought, oh no, I shouldn't have said it in that way? And we spend a lot of time and energy worrying about those things. The flip side, when we start to look inwards, when we bring that energy back to ourselves and we start to look internally, we bring the attention in, we can take control, we can take ownership, and we belong to ourselves first. So it actually doesn't matter. And what we start to really understand is that people's behavior towards us is not a reflection of who we are, it's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And when we start to focus on ourselves, we can make decisions, we can make choices that are in alignment with what it is that we want in our lives. And how amazing would that be to actually start to make decisions and choices that take us down the path for our lives, for what we want. Because when we're constantly making decisions and choices for other people, we actually start to feel quite resentful and we start to feel angry. And that does not build a sense of belonging, contentment, or happiness in the long term. So there's a few elements to take away here. So firstly, I want you to think about adopting a mindset of curiosity over judgment. So start to notice how you're feeling and be curious. And when I say notice how you're feeling, I just mean as you go about your day. Maybe check in with yourself, middle of the day, end of the day. How have I felt today? And be curious about that. And if you notice the judgment coming in, which it will, because the inner critic, is always there. We can't eradicate it and we're not looking to. But just ask that inner critic just to soften and step back so you can look at, how you felt that day. And to move from fitting into belonging, we do need to start reflecting inwards and create this sense of, of ownership around how we want to live our lives. And that to make the changes in our lives that we want, it has to be slow and steady. This is not about diving in head first. Our bodies need to learn that they are safe as they make these changes. It's very, very, very gentle. And so the last thing that I want to share with you before we finish for today is to really reassure you that the power is truly in your hands to make these changes. Like, you are not stuck. You do not have to. If you feel stuck, you don't have to stay stuck. That the change that you seek is absolutely possible. You can learn new ways to take care of yourself. You can learn new ways to think and feel and manage your emotions. And, often people don't embark on this type of work or, what I might call a journey of self-discovery because we are stuck in a way of thinking that might be something like, well, that's just who I am. That's just how I do things. Nothing's ever going to change. And that does not have to be true. And it's not, it's not a genetic fact that you are stuck the way that you are. And maybe you're looking to work on how you manage stress. Maybe you're looking to reduce anxiety or how you handle difficult conversations or difficult situations, and that you feel that every time you're in that situation it goes exactly the same way and that you feel a sense of stuckness. And I just want you to know that it doesn't have to be that way, because the way that you're handling those situations at the moment is programming and conditioning, and often is born out of coping mechanisms that you have created for really, really, really good reasons. At some point, these coping mechanisms that we use, so for example, if you're in an argument with someone and your response to argument is to shut down, at some point that coping mechanism has served you because you didn't feel safe. Maybe when you were a child, but now as an adult, you want to find a way to move through difficult conversations so you don't shut down anymore. That programming conditioning we can work on. Essentially, we can rewire it, and that makes it sound very simplistic. It isn't simplistic, but it's possible. And we shame ourselves, don't we, for, oh God, well, what's the point? This is just who I am. These are adaptive ways that are, our conditioning and programming and responses to the situations and experiences that we've had. And it's okay. Everybody has them. And the best part is we can deprogram, we can rewire, and we can learn new ways. It's totally possible, and that's what we're looking to start here. Okay, so as we're going to draw to a close for today, I want to invite you all to contemplate what a mindset of possibility might look like for you. So I want you to start thinking, what is possible? What might be possible for you in the next 21 days or over a longer period of time? And along with possibility is a mindset of curiosity, a sense of open-mindedness, open-heartedness. And lastly, I would really invite everybody to set an intention for going through this series with me. What would you like to feel, learn, experience as we work through this content together? And if you feel able to, I would love for you to share that in the comments. If you don't want to share it in the comments, that's fine. I'd really encourage you to write it down somewhere and to feel free to email me or to pop it in a DM and send it to me, because when we write things down, we are far more likely to make them happen. There's a sense of commitment there to ourselves, and that's what we're looking to create here, is change, sustainable, manageable change. Okay, so I'm going to draw to a close for today. Thank you for listening and watching. And tomorrow we are going to be looking at a practice that you can put into your toolkit that is going to help you really capitalize on the learning that we've done today. So thanks ever so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.